Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Two Words, our show where we review things in the world of television. Today we are about to begin a new journey, a limited journey, hopefully. The Crowded Room. I've been a big fan of the Spider-Man for a long time. Just a little history on why I'm even reviewing the show in the first place. I've been a big fan of Toby. I've been a big fan of Andrew. I've been a big fan of Tom. And last year around this time, I did Andrew Garfield did a mini series shortly after No Way Home came out, his follow up to that, and that was pretty good. And Tom Holland was shortly announced to get his own show that was separate, but like it was like for me like branching out to new territory, so to speak. And that's always something that I always like to do because I've watched a lot of TV shows. I have watched hundreds of them by this point, whether they are the old days of when I was a kid on Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, or going into like, hour-long dramas, then the 30-minute comedies, anime, name all this. I basically touched my hands in almost every single plot. And I'm always a good love of mystery, like, discovering the character, I've always also had a thing for crime dramas, so to speak, of like, what goes on before the actual crime occurs, like how do we lead up to this point. Like it's always the most interesting part of listening to a story, following the main character, and figuring out how does it all fit into place by the end of it. And that was just something that I was intrigued by with this show, mainly because when I first heard the news, it was mostly that Tom Holland was cast in a new Apple TV. This is also my first show I'm watching on Apple TV. This is my kind of my debut programming, so to speak. And it's not to say that Apple TV doesn't make quality stuff. It's something that I've really never, I never really been interested in. I know Jennifer Anderson is on the morning show. I know there was a Tetris movie that just came out. I'm very much like, it takes a lot for me to like get hooked on a streaming platform, especially if it's new. You need something like an iCarly from Paramount Plus to get me into it, or even Halo on that sort. So for this, I was like, you know what? I really like Tom Holland. I've rarely seen him in stuff outside of the MCU, where he plays Spider-Man. I did watch him in Uncharted, but that was kind of like, oh, that was action flair. I wanted to see something new out of him. I wanted to see, like, because, yeah, like, obviously, majority of us only got introduced to Tom Holland via the MCU, but he has done other films and shows before that, and he will continue to do so, even if his time as Spider-Man is not that consistent anymore. Then we arrived to this moment with the show, and again, I'm a little late on this. I've been very busy this last weekend. I wasn't able to review it live, and also the fact that they were dropping the first 3 episodes of the show at the first day of release. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole. I'm gonna group them all just to make it easy for myself. Now I'm gonna review each one independently because each one needs its own time to breathe, and it's also kind of like it's the unpackaging of like you really need to figure out. Piece by piece, assemble your map and slowly figure out and hopefully connect the dots along the way. So to get into the first episode of the show, and but one more thing before I continue is that this is not a multi-season show. This is an anthology show. So if it does get a season 2, it will have a new story, new cast, new characters, new everything. So this is just a linear 1-season story. There is no like oh, we're gonna have to worry about these characters again next time around. Like no, this is just telling the one story. And so going into it with this premiere, I will say I wasn't that really gripped by it, to be honest with you. I wasn't. It wasn't something that like by the first minute to like the last minute, I was like really much like wanting to know. I wasn't on the hook of like I need to know what happens next. Like it's not like I need to watch episode 2 right now. Like I'm going to watch episode 2. I can't wait to see what episode 2 has in store. But it's not like the immediate like of a mystery of like of trying to figure out what happens next. Like it's not calling to me to figure out what is next. And I feel like the plot method, the plot device they're using to tell this story, it isn't something that I'm fully. It's not the first time I see it, nor do I think it will be the last. It is a different approach, so to speak, but it kind of seems a little along the lines of like, how do I say that? It's not basic, but it's not something groundbreaking, which I think, once again, I have to temper my expectation of like, oh, this is a new streaming platform with a really great actor and I'm hopeful, a compelling story that I'm hopeful that this is going to break some new ground. It doesn't really, so to speak, it's not really like, giving me all the maybe that's why they dropped the first 3 episodes so like you can really get into it, so maybe I'm not reviewing it properly. But then again, like with television, like every episode has to stand on its own, especially if you're doing a limited series, which is like you only have this amount of episodes to tell your story. And if a movie can do it in 2 hours, having 10 hours, it should be more than enough time to do your thing. But I will say, despite my little, like, I'm not really fully hooked into it right now, I will say Tom does do a really great job in this role. I know that he really delved deep into the character because he does his research. The man does his research on almost all the roles he does. So I'm not surprised that he really, like, had to get into the psyche of, like, this is a character that is disturbed and he's been through a lot. He has a lot of trauma in him, and, you know, he definitely... that is conveyed in, like, you know, the facial expression, which is kind of difficult sometimes to express because like, you can act, but like to act with your face, with your body, with like just the slightest facial movement, it can be a little difficult. It isn't. It can be an advanced method, and I will praise Tom for like going into it. As for the rest of the cast, nothing really stands out in my opinion, to be honest with you. But this also Amanda Seinfeld, who plays the psychiatrist, who is basically the reason why we're learning about the story. She's asking his character, oh damn, I forgot. I've been literally Danny. He's been asking his character about, like, you know, instead of like going from like what happened with the primary events of the show that kind of kicks off this entire story, she's going back to analyze like how did Danny get to that point, maybe to get him to open up to how did we get to this point. And it's a little bit, like it's I got this line from the other guys where, like, you know, we're gonna start at the end and then go back to the beginning, and then maybe give a little interludes in, like, you know, middle, like in different perspectives maybe. I feel like that's the best way to describe this story, this show so far. And it's not a bad thing. It definitely is just like, okay, you're really going to have to really impress me in the next 9 episodes to like really feel like, okay, was this worth giving Apple my money? It wasn't worth it. And, yeah, I think I done enough thing about the beforehand, but let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this episode of The Crowded Room. If you don't understand, if you're a newbie, when I mean the Butcher recap, it means I'm going to recap the entire episode and review it piece by piece. I will most likely forget something because I have a very limited brain capacity, so I will most likely forget it, so please go watch the episode. So we begin in 1979. We're in a train where Danny is doing a very cliche, like, he's got a gun in a paper bag, and he's kind of like, you know, triple thinking about his life up to that point, like, why is he here, what is he doing? And then a woman appears, and she kind of tries to calm him down a little bit, saying that, you know, you sure you want to do this? Because the moment we get off this train, there really is no going back. Then he's like, yep, I'm in, no matter what. So they come out the train, they're in Radio City Music Hall, which I'm like, modern day, there's a really good halal truck right next there. So I'm actually kind of craving halal food right now. So I'm like, I might go eventually soon. So yeah. Also, for some reason, I thought this was present day. I don't know why. I just feel like it kind of, they don't really do like a great job of like selling that this is 1979 New York. Like, yeah, definitely they're wearing the wardrobe. You got the cars, but I don't know. There's something missing. There was like something like that was really missing for me to be sold. This was 1979. I don't know what it was. I really don't know. I just can't. I wasn't fully immersed into like this is New York in the 70s. I don't know how else to explain it, but. They're staking out a guy. Eventually, this guy comes out of a building, so they're starting to trail him. I'm guessing this is their target. But while they're getting into, I believe it's Rockaway Plaza, I want to say. I think it's not Rockaway, Rockefeller. The woman tells Danny, hey, look, I'm going to go cut him off. I'm going to, like, you know, slow him down a little bit. That will be your opportunity to go in for the kill. Danny agrees. For some reason, and this could just be how ignorant people are in New York City, and I live in New York City, so I'm like, I can fully express this, is Danny literally is just going down the stairs. He's still a bit too far away, and he pulls out the gun in like broad daylight. He's not even doing a great job to conceal it, which I'm like, dude. I mean, it's just a nitpick of like, why? You know, like, if you really want to conceal it well enough, like, wait till you're, like, maybe a few feet away. Like, maybe, like, not within, I don't know, I really don't know. Maybe he's not, I can tell you this guy's not a skilled murderer whatsoever. So she cuts him off, but however, before the plan could properly begin, Danny pulls out the gun at him, but then once he turns his face, he gets stunned. He's confused, he's shocked, and the woman tells him, hey, what are you doing? Go for the kill, shoot him, and the guy just starts to run away. She takes the gun, starts shooting at him, misses almost all the shots, manages to get one arm graze on him, and she goes after him, running below into the plaza. Danny, like, literally just dumbfounded, like, what the hell just happened? What do I do? And, you know, she's looking around, he grabs the gun, the police show up, and then he starts running. And then so we don't even get a chase sequence. We just cut over to a house in a suburban neighborhood somewhere in New York State. I'm going to guess New Jersey. I really don't know. They didn't really clarify that. He meets with the landlord, who is, like, you know, very mad at him, saying, where is she? What happened? What did everything go okay? And he's like, no, I'm sorry. And he's like, shit, this is not how we're supposed to go. Here's some money. Here's a passport. You know, get the hell out of here. You know, go start a new life. And so Danny goes upstairs. We cut to a little bit later where he's burning some documents. He's burning the money. And it's like, okay, what happened? I feel like we're missing something here. I feel like it. Eventually, the police show up outside the house. Danny willingly surrenders himself, gets himself arrested. We cut to I'm thinking the next day or so, where Amanda Seinfeld's character, I don't know the names yet, I apologize. Some of you should know, when I'm starting a new show or a new story, I do not know all the characters' names. I will try my best to learn the main characters, but, you know, beyond that, like, you know, you're going to be lucky to get anything good out of me, so I do apologize about that. She gets filled in by the cops about the guy, and, you know, that, you know, right now the case is very loose. There's nothing solidified about this case to fully convict Danny of the crime of murder or anything of the sort. There's a lot of evidence at the crime scene, but nothing is fully tying Danny down, because there's no bodies. There is a gun, there may be blood, but, like, a lot of things are missing right now. So they're hopeful that if she can talk to him, that she might be able to get a confession out of him. She's not entirely sold on the idea. Maybe she wants to wait till they find more evidence before she can proceed. But right now, they don't really have much of an option right now. So she agrees to do so. So she goes to meet with him. They have a little nice chit chat. Again, she's trying to, like, you know, be blunt of, like, you know, what happened. Where's the woman who is named Ariana? What happened to the landlord? Like, you know, there's a lot of, like, mystery. There are questions they have, and he's not answering any of them. He's like, I don't know, and I don't know. And right now, so she said, okay, let's backtrack a little bit. How did you meet them? How did we get to this point where, like, you even got yourself into their lives? And that resulted in us winding all the way back, a big old flashback to 1977. It's only 2 years ago. So we're in 1977. Danny's living with his mom and his stepdad, and it's your traditional kind of cliche, you know, mom stepdad ordeal where the mom is kind of being abused verbally, maybe even physically. The stepdad's kind of like, you know, a drunk alcoholic piece of crap, doesn't give a damn about anyone besides himself. Danny's trying to live his life day by day, but the stepdad's like, you know, he does not like Danny at all. He just views Danny as just like, you're not my son. And, you know, I mean, it's not really clarified to see if, like, he's the main breadwinner of the house right now. So maybe, like, once he took over, he was kind of like to assert his control. And, you know, I don't know why. I found this scene to be a little bit cliche, but also very, you know, it sold the fact that Danny is just very depressed. He's not happy here. I know he loves his mom a lot because, you know, he's just being comforted by her, but, like, I'm assuming that one thing led to another, and then they have to have this guy in their life so they can pay the bills. And the stepdad's immediately, like, trying to assert his dominance over Danny. I can really tell this guy just wants to beat the shit out of him for whatever reason is imaginable in his head. Eventually, Danny manages to leave, head off to school. Kind of like, you know, he's just a social outcast. No one likes him, really. He has a couple of friends, but that's about it. He and his friend got invited to a party. Danny's not really 100% comfortable with parties because, like, again, with the way his house style is, how his family life is, he's not really comfortable, like, trying to sneak out and going to these parties. But, you know, he's like, you know what, I need to get away from these people. I need to, like, you know, have some fun, basically speaking. So They go over to the house. It's honestly known as, it's not like a party. It's just like a social gather. Where like they're not in the house. It's not a rager. It's not like, you know, they got some beer. Some of them have got some pot. They just have, it's weird. It's like, it's not the type of party that I know of. It's traditional. Like you go to someone's house, you pour beer in a red cup, and that's it. You're done. So there's your party. This was a little bit different, and Danny gets caught in the eye, or he gets his eye catched by a transfer student, a lovely young woman that he is now very smitten with. And his friends are teasing him on, egging him on. It's like, hey, you should just go talk to her, man. Like, you know, you never know. Like, maybe she can have a thing for you. Danny, of course, being the shy person he is not really one to, like, approach anyone. So he doesn't. So the party continues a little bit later on. She makes the first move. They have a little conversation. I can tell, like, you know, she does like him a little bit, and definitely he does as well. She even invites him, like, hey, you want to go smoke some pot? And then he's just like stupidly saying, like, oh, I'm sorry, like I didn't want to see him. I have pot right now. It's just like, you know, I thought you had it. And it's like, dude. Anyway, that gets interrupted, so they decide to sideline it for another day. Danny is very happy that he got to talk to a girl. He got a little bit drunk. He got a little bit happy. But when he's arriving home, his stepdad's outside the driveway, kind of like waiting for him. It's like, hey, what's up? What you do, man? Coming home late. Why don't you sit in the car with me? You know, maybe talk to your old stepdaddy. Which I'm like, Danny's not really interested in this. He's looking across the street to this formerly abandoned, like, haunted houses. You know, they this neighborhood used to call it, that someone moved in already. However, the stepdad doesn't give a shit. Like, he just wants to talk to Danny. Danny manages to talk himself out of this, saying like, hey, I gotta do homework. And the stepdad's like, okay, you know what? Go ahead. Go right now. You should fuck off. That's like, I don't know what else. Eventually, I want to say we cut to a couple days later. I want to say where Danny and his friends are just like talking about how they, how was it? They're talking about, like, you know, how can they're like, you know, they're high school students. They don't got any money. They don't got, like, you know, jobs or anything. So, and, you know, obviously they want to impress people. They want to have some spending money. And of course they know that Danny got offered to, like, hang out with the girl, with some pots. And, of course, Danny has no money to even purchase pot in the first place. So they're wondering, okay, how do we get some money? And they come up with a little business scheme of, like, they're going to buy a bunch of pot from this dealer, and then they're going to flip it over to the kids and, like, you know, make a little bit of a profit. Of course, obviously they need some startup money. But they remember that Danny's stepdad has the passcode for some stupid reason written in one of his drawers. So if they have that and get the cash card, they can get the $100 they need to start this up. Danny's a little bit nervous about this because, again, his stepdad's like 1 inch away from killing him. So, but however, Danny's kind of tired of his humdrum life, so he's like, you know, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So he goes into his stepdad's room to go get the card. It's honestly trying to sell, like, the suspense of, like, the dad's already passed out drunk on the bed, and Danny's just trying to, like, you know, get the information he needs. And, like, honestly, I this is a little cliche in my opinion, so I'm like, you know, it's nothing really breaking the mold, nothing really, like, you know, I'm not really being sold, like, oh, what if Danny gets called? What if he, you know, gets his ass beaten right here, right now? I wasn't really feeling that mood. He gets he gets what he needs. He goes over to the chase machine, which is apparently one of the first ones ever built. They successfully get the money, and they drive over to the park. They meet up with the dealer. The dealer is at first like, you're trying to put on the macho act of, like, you know, hey, I don't know who you are. I really don't know who sent you, but I'm like, if you here, show me the money. Show me the money, and maybe I can provide you with my goods. Danny, holding the money, is a little hesitant on giving the money since he wants to see the product first. And the guy's like, okay, sure, I got you. But of course, he then eventually threatens to kill him, saying that, you know, Danny should have just immediately just give him the money up front, that he should trust him. Like, you know, he's not in... This is not his territory. This is not his neighborhood. So, like, he should really respect his higher authorities. His friends managed to talk him down, managed to make a business deal of, like, hey, we will come back and provide with the, we will purchase your goods, and we will make more money off of your goods in our school. And eventually you will make more money as well. The guy kind of hesitantly agrees, but of course they're trying to, you know, continue the tough guy acts, like, just get out of here, like, you know, gives him the pot, and then they leave. They divide the weed into these little yellow vanilla envelopes. and they pass them out throughout the school, making some like really good money off of them. Danny eventually gets the courage to go ask out the girl again for it, but Howard, the girl's already kind of like with someone else right now, which I'm like, yeah, that's the number one thing. If you're interested in someone, go for it right away, because someone else is going to be interested in her too, buddy. Danny's about to get beat up by her new boyfriend. She manages to like, put him in his place. Also like accepts like, their the hangout for the weed for later on. So it's kind of like a thing, kind of like a hangout or whatever you want to call it. I want to say eventually, yeah. So eventually it gets leaked that they have weed, and the principal and the security guards go to check his locker, looking for the weed. Thankfully, nothing's there. His friends already moved it over when they weren't looking, and as well as they gave him back the money plus their profit. So far the investment's pretty much working. So right now they're in the clear right now. So I want to say after that. Yeah, so we cut over to I want to say the next afternoon or so. Danny goes to meet up with the girl. He's got the weed going, right, like ready to like be fine, be chill, just like just go in, seal the deal. He heads down to the river, and she's like, "Yeah, I would have just hanged out with you if you didn't have weed. Like that was just a way to like make you assimilate that like that was the only way." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't think of that," which I'm like, dude. Actually, I wouldn't blame him. Like, I would honestly feel the same thing if a cute girl offered me that. To be honest with you, so they're having fun. He's pushing her on the swing. She immediately just say, "Hey, you just want to make out?" That's it. And it's like, okay, you know what? When a girl immediately asks you, like, the point blank, they're like, there's only one real answer you can really go for. I mean, there is another answer, but like, still. So the kiss goes well. That night he gets very happy, very excited, so he starts water painting a portrait of her to like give her as like a gift and everything. And again, I'm assimilating that he's thinking like, oh, we kissed, that means we're gonna be a couple now. Like that's not really how it goes, bro. Not really how it goes. Where else do we proceed from there? I want to try and remember. Oh yeah, I remember there was a scene before all this the weed stuff happened where Danny and his friends go to meet the owner of the event of the haunted house. He just moved to the area. He's new, and he's just like very very like basic, like no real deep answers. He's like, okay, hello, nice to meet you, goodbye. So we get back to the school. Danny's about to present the portrait as like a present to her. However, she tells her friends like, "Hey, I'm just letting you know that she had fun last night, but it wasn't like it's not something that they can work out. I'm sorry." And she's still within like eye distance, which I'm like, brah, that was just like cold-hearted disrespectful. Like you egged this boy on, and you have to use your friend to like tell him like, "Hey, she's just not interested in you anymore. She's just not." And I'm just like, brah, I feel so sorry for Danny in this moment. And it all continues to crash apart as the principal finds a joint that he rolled up. It's like, hey, what's this? What's going on? You lied to me. And Danny's only move right now is to run. He runs away. He runs back home. But when he gets back home, once again, everything starts crashing down even further when his dad calls the house. His stepdad calls the house. He found out that the $100 were missing from his account, and he's assuming his mother stole the money from him, so now he's extremely pissed off. So I was wondering, did Danny forget to deposit the money? Like, is that what happened? Because like Danny literally said like he had a week window to put this money in before he noticed, which I'm like, did he forget or something? I'm not really sure. He goes outside because he doesn't want to be home when this all happens. However, a bunch of the high school kids that he sold weed to all got suspended for possession of it. So they're going to go and run and kick his ass. So it's a brief chase that occurs. They catch up to him. They start to beat him down a little bit, but the new neighbor, the owner of the abandoned haunted house, who also happens to be the landlord from the beginning of the episode, goes in, basically pulls a Mr. Han, Jackie Chan moment on their asses, kicks all of them down, and like makes them run away. He invites Danny inside, where he offers him, a little protection, a little bit of like, a first aid, and this is also the first time he meets Ariana, and right now, like, even in this first interaction, like even Danny feels like, I feel more home here than in my own house. And that was kind of how like their relationship began, all three of them. Of course, obviously, the psychiatrist in the meantime is starting to ask her way more questions about, hold on, give me a second. about like, okay, so what happened after that? How did you and Ariana like develop more of your connection? How deep does your relationship with the landlord goes? You mentioned there was a previous person in your life called Alex. What happened to him? You know, there's a lot more questions, and believe me, a lot has more assuming happened in those 2 years and even beforehand. So, but however, the thing that the psychiatrist already is pointing out is that you're mentioning all these people that have all disappeared out of your life. And not just disappear out of your life, they disappeared, period. So you're the common factor. And she's making the logical assumption, like, did you do something to them? And even and to close out the episode, Danny was like, so what are you officially accusing me of? And that was the end of the first episode. I will say that, yeah, now talking about it, I'm gonna rank this a little bit lower than I was thinking originally at the start. Again, it wasn't like a traditional, like this episode didn't feel like a high school drama, so to speak. It definitely was trying to paint the picture of like Danny did not live a great life even before the events of, you know, when the story started. He went through a lot, and I could definitely relate to him. Like, you know, a lot of shitty stuff can happen to you when you're in middle school or in high school. And I really felt for him, so I definitely got sold over the thing of like, you know, this man was like literally pushed to like the limits of like, you know, depression at this point in his life. And yeah, now that he's like, you know, have this like at the beginning like a potential found family, we don't really fully know about the true aspects of their relationship, but the fact that, you know, that this occurred and this happens, like, you know, what happens next, like, you know, that sort of spiel. In reality right now, like so far, I'm not really sold on like the premise of the overall mystery of what happened to the landlord, what happened to the to Ariana. I'm not really fully immersed in that just quite yet. Maybe it's because we don't really have like the big moment. We didn't have the oh moment yet. And again, I understand once again, maybe I could be wrong by the time I reach episode 3, but oh no, we had the oh moment there, and that kind of changes everything. It's something that I'm pointing out, like, it's something that's not gripping me. It's something that it's not, you know, making me like at the edge of my seat. I'm still going to watch it. Obviously I'm still going to review this, every episode, but it's not like I'm going to be clamoring for like, I need episode 2 now. It's like, I will watch episode 2, but it isn't something that I need to see it at the moment, so to speak. But again, right now, Tom Holland is basically like the big star of the show. Not just like the title lead, but like he's also the, shining reason why this show is like still, interesting to me, because like I do want to see how did his path go. Like that's all I'm curious about. Like the overall mystery and story, and I've talked about this before in many other review shows that I've done. The story could be like not that engaging for me, but I'm interested in Danny to see like how did he become the person he is now? Why is he doing what he's doing, and what kind of messed up shit did he have to go through in his life to become the person he is now? Because this man looks like he's been through everything, and I want to know what he did. I want to know what he had to go through, and that's what I'm curious to see for. But for right now, overall, for the entire episode, besides Tom Holland's performance and a couple of moments throughout the show with this episode, definitely it's one of those. It's good. At best, it's like a very weak good, in my opinion. So, with that being said, I'm going to give this episode 1 thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the premiere episode of The Crowded Room. Let's have a discussion down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So, if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode of The Crowded Room, only on Apple TV+. If you want to know what we're doing normally on What's the Two besides our Crowded Room episode reviews, right now we're doing Nancy Drew episode reviews each and every week after brand news on the CW. But if you don't care about The Crowded Room, right now the schedule is a little bit wonky since I was delayed. My original plans got thrown up. So the next episode, we will be a little bit delayed for a couple weeks because right now I'm just pretty stacked with my schedule with the videos I'm producing right now. So episode 2 review will probably come out by this weekend, hopefully. So we will be a little bit behind, but again, we are going a little bit more into depth with every episode to give episode 1, 2, 3 the time they do deserve. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell and follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. So stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.